When I first got the job at the remote weather station in Alaska, it felt like a dream come true. I'd been desperate for work, any work, and the paycheck they offered was surprisingly generous. Too generous, maybe. But I didn't ask questions. I just packed up what little I had and caught the flight north, thinking the worst part would be boredom and cold. I was wrong. The station was located in a place called Red Pines, although there wasn't a pine tree in sight. Just miles and miles of frozen nothingness, white plains stretching into the horizon under an ever-gray sky. The building itself looked like a bunker, low-slung, made of reinforced concrete and fitted with thick, soundproof doors. It was staffed by only 2 people per shift, with the night duty handled by one person alone, me. When I arrived, I was greeted by an older man named Hobbs, the outgoing night tech. He had deep bags under his eyes and a cigarette permanently glued to his bottom lip. He barely looked at me when he spoke. "You read the rules yet?" I shook my head. "You better. They ain't just guidelines. They're rules for a reason." He handed me a laminated sheet of paper that looked like it had been reprinted 100 times. There were greasy fingerprints smudging the edges. I read the title, Rules for Night Shift Operations, Red Pines Weather Station. 1. Never leave the building between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. No exceptions. 2. At 2:16 a.m. exactly, check the east-facing window. If you see a figure, do not blink. Do not move. Wait until it passes. 3. Do not answer the phone after 3 a.m., no matter who or what is calling. 4. Always leave one of the hallway lights off. Always. 5. If the backup generator kicks on, turn off all equipment and sit in silence until power is restored. Prar 6. Log everything, even the things you think you imagined. I looked up from the list. You serious? Hobbs didn't smile. Very. He paused before lighting another cigarette. You're going to want to quit. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not this week, but you will. And if you're lucky, you'll make it out before you break a rule. He handed me a small, worn notebook with a leather cover. Journal. You'll need it. Then he left. That first night, I locked the main door behind me and stared out the single window at the frozen horizon, feeling oddly alone, even for a place built on isolation. The cold crept in through every seam of the building, though the heater roared like a jet engine. I tried to settle into the routine, checking the instruments, logging temperatures, wind speeds, precipitation readings. For hours, nothing happened. Just me, the hum of machines, and the rhythmic pounding of the wind against the building. Then at 2:16 a.m., my phone alarm went off. My heart jumped. I'd almost forgotten about that part of the rules. My eyes flicked toward the east-facing window. I got up hesitantly. The window was fogged over, but I could make out something faint, something tall and human-shaped standing just beyond the glass. It didn't move. It didn't shift or shiver or even blink. I stood still, remembering the rule, do not blink, do not move. Wait until it passes. I don't know how long I stood there. It felt like an hour, but it couldn't have been more than a minute or two. The figure eventually vanished, melting into the dark. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The rest of the shift passed without incident, but I didn't sleep the next day. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the figure's outline burned onto my retinas. The second night was worse. Everything was quiet until 3:12 a.m. when the phone rang. I froze. I remembered Rule 3. Do not answer the phone after 3 a.m., no matter who or what is calling. The ring echoed through the station, piercing and shrill. I watched the phone from my desk like it was a venomous snake. It rang and rang, 8 times, then 9, then 20. Then it stopped. 5 minutes passed. Then it rang again. I moved across the room and unplugged the cord from the wall. The sound stopped instantly. That's when I heard it. My voice. From the unplugged phone's receiver. "Hello," it said. "It's me. You. Please answer. Something's wrong." I stared at the phone, cold sweat running down my neck. The receiver was still unplugged. I didn't touch it. I didn't dare. The third night, the hallway lights flickered. One of them went out, and I didn't replace it. I followed the rules to the letter. That night, nothing happened, except the silence felt heavier than usual, like something was watching me, right outside the edge of the hallway light. I started writing in the journal Hobbs had given me. At first, just little things. Temperatures, wind speeds, my reactions, but soon I found myself writing what I felt. The the sense of dread, the hallucinations, the cold fingers brushing my neck when I walked past the storage room, the whispers I heard behind doors I never opened. On the fourth night, the generator kicked on. The entire station went dark for a half second, then came back to life under red emergency lighting. The hum of the backup generator filled the walls. I turned off all the equipment as instructed. Sat in the middle of the room. That's when the screaming started. It didn't come from inside the building, but it wasn't far either. It was out in the snow, moving around the station. A woman's voice, high, panicked, crying for help. I gritted my teeth and shut my eyes. I would not move. Then she screamed my name. I nearly broke then. My whole body flinched, ready to run to the door, to throw it open and help whoever was out there. But I forced myself to stay seated. Eventually, the screaming stopped. The power came back. When I turned the equipment back on, I found a new weather file uploaded to the terminal. One I didn't send. One I didn't recognize. Timestamp file name, shadowlog17.wave. It was an audio file. I shouldn't have played it, but curiosity is a curse. I put on the headset and pressed play. It was static. At first. Then breathing. Then my own voice again. Something's here. I don't know how much longer I can. It cut off. But I'd never recorded that. I never said those words. I shut the file and deleted it. Now tonight is my 5th night, and something's changed. I can feel it. The air's too still. The wind stopped. The snow outside has formed perfect concentric circles around the station, and now there's a new rule taped to the control panel. It wasn't there before. Rule 7, if a second version of you enters the station, do not let it speak. Kill it immediately. I haven't seen anything yet, but it's only 10:42 p.m. There's still a long way to go till morning. I thought I was going crazy. I still do. When I saw the new rule, Rule 7, taped to the control panel, my first instinct was to laugh. Not because it was funny, but because laughter was the only thing keeping my brain from unraveling like a spool of wet string. Kill it immediately, the rule had said. Kill who? Myself? What the hell kind of job had I signed up for? I checked the security logs. Nothing showed anyone entering. Just me. Clocked in at 6:54 p.m. like every other night. No unauthorized access. No movement detected at the perimeter. And yet, the rule was there. Typed in the same font, printed on the same yellowing paper, taped with the same brittle masking tape as all the others. I tried to shake it off. I really did. The shift began like usual. At 8 p.m., I did the hourly logs. The wind had picked up again, gusts near 40 miles per hour, snow slamming into the station in heavy sheets. Temperatures dropped below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, a true death zone. No one could survive out there without a heated suit and a miracle. At 11 p.m., I made sure the doors were locked. At 2:16 a.m., I checked the east-facing window. The figure was back. Taller this time, I think, or maybe it was just closer. Again, I stood still, didn't blink. I waited until the shape faded back into the storm, like a shadow sinking into water. Then around 3:10 a.m., I heard it. Footsteps. Inside. Not mine. They were deliberate, heavy, moving down the far hallway toward the communications room. I held my breath and reached under the desk for the emergency kit. The one Hobbs told me never to touch unless it was absolutely necessary. Inside it was a flare gun, a portable radio, a pack of matches, and a steel hatchet. I took the hatchet. The lights flickered. Once, twice, then held. I crept down the hall, every nerve screaming. The sound of the wind was almost entirely gone, muffled by the heavy walls, leaving only the soft echo of those foreign footsteps. Then I saw it. Me. Standing at the far end of the hallway, near the door to the generator room. Same parka, same face, same exhausted, sleepless eyes. It was looking at the control panel, its back to me. I whispered, "Hey!" It turned and smiled. My heart stopped. My legs wouldn't move. I felt like prey caught in a snare because it, the thing that looked like me, smiled with too many teeth, too wide. It was like watching my own face malfunction. Finally, it said. Its voice was mine, pitch perfect, but hollow, like a recording played underwater. I raised the hatchet. "Don't move." It took a step forward. I yelled. I said, "Don't move." It stopped, then tilted its head. "You really think you're the first?" My blood ran cold. The thing nodded toward the weather logs. "You think all those notes, those journals, you think they were written by you?" I stared at it, my hands trembling. "You've only been here 5 nights, it said. How many versions of you do you think made it that far? I don't know what came over me, but I lunged. Screaming, I swung the hatchet down hard. It dodged easily like it knew what I would do before I did it. Then it ran. I chased it through the narrow hallways, the overhead lights flickering with every step. The thing moved fast, unnaturally fast. I could hear it laughing, mocking me. "This is where it happens," it shouted. "This is the night you break the rules." I lost it near the old radar room, some disused space filled with rusted monitors and busted equipment. I locked the door behind me, panting like an animal. My breath fogged the air, even though the heaters were on full blast. I stayed there until the end of the shift. I didn't move, didn't speak, just sat against the door with the hatchet in my lap, waiting. That was last night. Tonight is different. The generator has been flickering since I clocked in. The walls groan like something is inside them. And worst of all, there's a new note. Rule 8. If you hear knocking on the mirror, cover all reflective surfaces immediately. There are only 3 mirrors in the station. One in the bathroom, one on the locker room door, one on my watch. I broke the one in the bathroom first. I covered the locker mirror with duct tape, but I forgot the watch. At 1:03 a.m., I heard the knock. 3 taps. Slow, deliberate. I looked down and saw the watch face shimmer, not with reflection, but with depth, like a window instead of a surface, and behind it, something knocked again. I ripped it off my wrist and smashed it on the floor, but it was too late. Something had seen me. Not long after, the phone started ringing again. I'd unplugged all of them except the emergency comms line, just in case something real happened, like a plane crash or a storm advisory. But when I picked it up, I heard my own voice again. "Don't trust the next one," it whispered. "It looks more like you than you do." I dropped the phone. I'm writing this now in Hobbs' old journal. It's filling up fast. The entries before mine, they all sound like me. Same phrases, same fears, same slow descent. Some of them mentioned seeing me before they disappeared. One of them even wrote, "The one that's writing now, he's not the real one. I am. Help me. Please." That entry is dated 3 years ago. Hobbs, he knew. That's why he left so fast. That's why he never looked me in the eye, because he wasn't sure which version of me had taken the job. And now I can hear the footsteps again. Only this time, they're coming from inside the walls, not the hallway. The walls themselves are groaning, breathing, scratching. Whatever is outside, whatever watches from the window at 216, it's not alone. It lets things in. Maybe that's how it starts. You follow the rules. You survive just long enough to break one by mistake. Then they come for you. I haven't eaten in 2 days. Food tastes off, like metal. My teeth feel loose. Tonight might be my last shift. The figure at the window isn't alone anymore. There are 3 of them now, each one looking more like me than the last. I don't know what day it is anymore. Sleep doesn't help. The dreams are worse than the waking hours. I tried taking a nap earlier, right before shift start. My body shut down for what felt like minutes, but I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, a scream half choked in my throat. In the dream, I was still at the station. Same chair, same humming instruments. But every screen showed me. Dozens of versions, some older, some thinner, some bleeding from the eyes. One of them smiled and pressed a hand against the glass screen. I could feel it on my chest when I woke up. I don't think I'm alone in here anymore. Not in the metaphorical sense. I mean it literally. Something else is in the station, and it wears my face. Tonight, I started the shift like usual, mechanically. Checked temperature sensors, wind velocity, barometric pressure. Nothing made sense. The numbers flickered and changed every time I looked. I'd write down one reading, blink, and it would be different. Like the laws of physics were flickering in and out of tune. At exactly 9:47 p.m., the main screen turned blue. Not a crash. Not static. Just a message. "You are out of sync. Correct yourself." I stared at it, heart thudding. Then the screen returned to normal. Just like that. The wind picked up again. Hard. A constant howl that sounded like a scream being stretched across the sky. That's when I started noticing the time shifts. At 10:03 p.m., I glanced at my wall clock. The second hand was twitching. Not ticking. Twitching. Like it wanted to move but was being held back. At 10 p.m., I looked at my digital wristwatch. It read 3:11 a.m. At 10:10, the terminal displayed 12:42 a.m. I was seeing 3 different times at once. Something was wrong with the station, or with me. Then came the banging. Not from the doors, from under the floor. At first it was faint, distant, like someone knocking from deep underground, trying to get out, or worse, trying to get in. Then it got louder, rhythmic. 4 knocks, pause, 4 knocks, pause. I followed the sound to the far hallway, past the communications room, past the generator doors, down to the maintenance hatch that led into the sublevel, a place I was told to never go. It wasn't on the blueprints Hobbs gave me. There weren't even lights down there, but the banging came from just beneath it. I stared at the hatch and felt my pulse throb in my neck. Then something knocked back. I don't mean me. I didn't knock. The hatch knocked back 4 times. I didn't open it. I couldn't. I backed away, step by slow step, heart racing like a cornered animal. Whatever was beneath that hatch, whatever had been waiting, it knew I was there. I returned to the control room, turned on every light, monitored every sensor. The storm outside had vanished. Literally. All the monitors read calm. No wind, no precipitation, no clouds. I looked out the east-facing window and saw only a mirror image of the room. It was like the outside world had folded in on itself, like we were floating in a reflection. And then came the most terrifying part. I saw myself standing in the mirrored version, but I wasn't moving. He was. He was looking around the room. Same parka, same hat, same notebook. He glanced up at the window, no, through it, and locked eyes with me. Then he lifted his hand and placed it against the glass. My breath froze in my throat because I felt my own hand getting colder, like the glass was drawing something out of me. I stumbled back, and he didn't move. He just smiled, not with teeth this time, just that quiet knowing expression, like he'd already won. At 2:16 a.m., I should have checked the window again, but I couldn't, not after that. I waited, holding the hatchet tight in one hand and my journal in the other. The lights began to flicker again, then pop. One by one, the hallway bulbs blew out, leaving only the faint emergency red glow. The scratching returned, this time from the air vents. Then I heard it, a voice, soft, too soft to understand at first. I leaned closer to the vent above the terminal. It was whispering something, repeating it, so I wrote it down. You were not the first. You will not be the last. The station feeds. The station forgets. The station repeats. I backed away slowly, notebook shaking in my hands. Then came the sound of boots on the floor again. I raised the hatchet and turned, just in time to see me walk out from the far hallway. But this one was different. He looked fresher, healthier, cleaner, like he hadn't endured the past few nights of torment. He didn't speak. He just smiled gently and held up his hands, empty, palms open. Listen, he said softly, I'm not here to hurt you. I didn't lower the hatchet. I'm the next one, he said. You're the broken version. I'm your replacement. What? I whispered. He looked at me with pity. You were never meant to last. None of them do. I lunged. The hatchet bit deep into his shoulder, and he cried out, but it was my voice. Exactly. Down to the hitch in the breath, the pain grunt, even the sob. It shattered something inside me. He grabbed my arm and whispered, Don't let them do this to you. Kill me, and they'll just send another. I dropped the hatchet. He fell to the floor, gasping, bleeding dark, thick blood that didn't steam in the cold. I stepped back, heart hammering. Then the PA system crackled. A voice came through. It was Hobbs, but not how I remembered him. This voice was younger, stronger. Version 7, report? Status? I didn't answer. Version 7, the voice repeated. Containment breach noted. Reset in progress. The lights flickered once more. Then everything went black. Only the red emergency lights remained, and the sound of the hatch unlocking itself echoed through the hallway. I think I've broken the cycle, or maybe I've just invited it in. Either way, they know I'm not following the rules anymore. I'm writing this by candlelight. The power is gone. Not flickering, gone. It died the moment that voice, Hobbs' voice, or whatever thing was imitating him, said reset in progress. The hum of the lights, the low static of the monitors, the comforting drone of the backup generators, all of it stopped at once, like the station itself exhaled its last breath. I tried the backup switch panel. Nothing. Tried the emergency comms line. Nothing. Even the battery-powered radio. Dead. Not even static. Just silence. A thick, suffocating silence. And underneath it all, I could hear the hatch at the end of the hallway slowly creaking open. I should have run, should have locked myself in the closet or the supply room, but I couldn't move. My body refused, like the air had grown heavy, soaked with something invisible and ancient. So I sat in the control room, listening. The red emergency light bathed everything in a hellish glow. I watched the corridor where the hatch lay in shadows. Then came the footsteps, wet ones, like something crawling up from a dark basement, dragging its limbs across cold concrete. I grabbed the hatchet, the same one stained with blood from the version of me that tried to warn me or replace me. I don't know anymore. I don't think it matters. That's when the voice returned. Not through the PA, inside my head, like a memory injected directly into my skull. The station forgets. The station repeats. The station feeds. My head throbbed. Blood pulsed behind my eyes. I stumbled, the notebook falling from my hands. Pages fluttered across the floor. One page, one I don't remember writing, caught my eye. It read, "Version 7 is breaking. Initiate final override. Hatch release authorized." I didn't write that, but it was in my handwriting. I was still staring at it when the thing crawled through the door. I say thing, but that doesn't do it justice. It was me. Again. But this one was different. It wasn't wearing clothes, just pale, stretched skin and long, skeletal limbs. Its mouth hung too low, jaw slack like it had been dislocated and never set right. Black holes for eyes, leaking something thick and oily. It opened its mouth and let out a sound like static being strangled. I screamed. It screamed back. Same pitch, same tone, perfectly mirrored. Then it stood and took a step forward. I ran. I sprinted down the corridor, past the radar room, past the storage closets. Every light I passed flickered out behind me. It was chasing me, but I never heard its steps, only mine. Overlapping, slightly off, like hearing a recording of yourself on a half-second delay. I made it to the generator room, slammed the door shut, locked it. That's where I am now. Where I've been for what feels like hours. Writing by candlelight. The air inside the generator room is warm. Too warm. It smells like burnt copper and rotting paper. Something is wrong with the walls. They're breathing, expanding and contracting ever so slightly, as if the station itself is alive, or has become something else. I flipped open the maintenance logs. There's a section at the back, scribbled in red ink, different handwriting than Hobbs or mine. It says, Version 1, failure, suicide. Version 2, failure, madness. Version 3, failure, assimilated. Version 4, failure, corrupted. Version 5, failure, attack technician. Version 6, failure, noncompliance. Version 7, pending termination. Then below that, if version 7 reaches critical threshold, initiate final reset protocol, purge all identities, rebuild source model, release the anchor. I don't know what anchor means, but I think it's the thing that crawled through the hatch. I think it was trapped down there, and now it's free. At around what I guess was 4 a.m., the generator room door began to vibrate. Not shake, not rattle, vibrate, fast. Like something on the other side was humming at a frequency just slightly out of sync with our reality. My teeth hurt from the sound. Then the door unlocked. On its own. It clicked. I stood frozen, candle flickering. But the door didn't open. Instead, a piece of paper slid under it. I picked it up with shaking fingers. It read, Welcome, version 8. No. I'm still me. I haven't died. I haven't failed. But as I looked around the room, I realized there were differences. My notebook wasn't the one I dropped. This one was cleaner, newer. Some pages had notes in handwriting I didn't recognize. The hatchet in my hand, shinier, unused. Even my clothes felt fresher, like I'd never been through the last 5 nights. And then it hit me. Maybe I was version 8 now. Maybe the reset had already happened. Maybe the thing I saw, the thing that looked like me, crawling through the door, was me. Version 7, broken, deformed, purged. And I'm what's left, the latest attempt. But if that's true, then who's watching me from the window now? Because at 2:16 a.m., I finally looked, and it wasn't just one figure anymore. There were dozens, all of them me. Some looked just like I do now. Others were wrong, taller, too thin, faces stitched, mouths fused shut, eyes bleeding, all standing in the snow, all staring, waiting, and every single one of them smiled at the same time. They haven't moved. All night they've been standing out there in the snow. Dozens of them. Versions of me. Some are grotesque mockeries, distorted faces, broken spines, twitching like marionettes, but others look perfect, Too perfect. Like wax museum versions with just a little too much smile in their eyes. They don't blink. They don't breathe. They just watch. I've stopped trying to understand it. Logic doesn't belong here anymore. This station, whatever it is, wants something. It takes and remakes. I was never hired to work at a weather station. That was the bait. The rules were never to keep me safe. They were to keep me contained. And now that the reset has failed, it's all coming apart. The structure is beginning to rot from the inside. Floor tiles are warping. The walls are soft to the touch. There's a constant low-frequency hum, like the inside of a hive, and sometimes I hear my own voice echoing from rooms I haven't entered. I tried the emergency snowcat again. I sprinted through the main corridor and out the north side door. Not stolen, not destroyed, just vanished. No tire tracks, no engine, nothing but endless snow. And them, still watching, still smiling. I don't think I'm supposed to leave. I don't think anyone ever left. That's when I decided to find the source. If the station is the heart of all this, then there must be a root, a beginning, and I think it's under the floor. Back to the hatch. I hesitated at the edge of it for a long time. My own bloody fingerprints still smeared the handle from the other night. The silence from below was worse than noise. It was thick, pregnant, as if sound had been swallowed. I opened it. A long metal ladder led into pitch black. I descended. The temperature dropped instantly. My breath steamed in front of me, then hung in the air, motionless. No movement, no wind, no rules. The sublevel is a concrete corridor, lined with flickering red bulbs embedded in the walls. On either side, rooms, each one labeled, but not labeled like offices or labs. Observation chamber 2H. Iteration lab 3 version storage 7X. I passed by a small window in one of the doors and made the mistake of looking in. It was a morgue. Dozens of cold chambers, all labeled. Each drawer read a name. My name. Jackson Cole version 1. Jackson Cole version 3. I ran, kept going until I reached the end of the corridor. A large vault-like door stood there. On it, a simple sign. Anchor chamber, do not open. But it was already open. Just a crack. Something had broken out. The hinges were bent. The air beyond it pulsed like a living thing. I could see the walls undulating, a soft red glow coming from within. Inside, I found it, the source, the anchor. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't human. It was a mirror, 8 feet tall, framed in rusted iron. It didn't reflect me. It reflected all the other versions. They stood behind the glass, packed shoulder to shoulder, staring. Some wept, some laughed, some screamed silently. One reached out and tapped the mirror. The glass rippled. I stumbled back. Behind me, I heard the sound of the hatch closing. Footsteps. Someone else had followed me down. I turned and saw myself. Not just one version. All of them, the ones from the snow. They had entered, surrounding me, closing in. The mirror behind me began to pulse. The glass turned black. A voice echoed through the chamber. Dozens of voices layered into one. You are the final one, the one who broke the cycle, the one who saw too much. You cannot leave, but you may choose. I fell to my knees. I don't understand, I whispered. The voice spoke again. Join us or replace us. One of the versions stepped forward, the one with no mouth. His hand extended toward me. I looked at the mirror, then at them, then at the only way out, a small exit door at the back of the chamber, metal, marked with 3 words, exit to surface. But it had a keypad, and I didn't know the code. I was trapped, so I made a choice. I lunged for the keypad and slammed my palm on the number's random digits until beep, 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 click. It opened. Blinding light hit me. I ran. Climbed a spiral staircase. My legs burned, my lungs heaved. The screams of the others followed, not from mouths, but from the walls themselves. I burst out into the open. It was daylight, real daylight. No storm, no station, just snow. Flat, endless snow. And behind me, nothing. The station was gone, like it had never existed. But I still had the notebook, and I still had the voice in my head. It whispers now, even as I walk. Version 9 will begin soon. Rest, wait, repeat. I don't know how long I've been walking. I don't know if anyone will find this notebook. But if they do, if you're reading this, don't take the job at Station 232. There is no weather data. There are no supervisors. There is only the station, and it's always hungry.